Happy Sunday. Anyone who knows me will know that I'm a huge rugby fan. I used to worship rugby and be obsessed with it. High school, varsity, and soon thereafter. I wanted to share my thoughts on the Springboks versus All Blacks game. Not so much analyzing the game and getting to the technicalities, but mostly chatting around the game and the politics of the game itself. First and foremost, a huge congratulations to the New Zealand All Blacks. I've been an All Blacks fan since I was a kid. And I found myself getting emotional watching the game yesterday because a couple of weeks ago I made a decision to become an official Springbok supporter. I went on social media, I made a TikTok, I posted on Twitter, on Facebook. I was like, I'm officially a Springbok supporter. It's something I've been thinking about for the past 2 years. Nothing to do with the Springboks winning back-to-back World Cups. Everything to do with what I thought the brand had become. Seeing Siya Kolisi be an amazing captain, an incredible ambassador for the country. Seeing Rassie Erasmus become, one of the greatest leaders we have in the country. Falling in love with a lot of the players, Cheslin Colby, Pieter Steph du Toit, Damian Willems, Kurtley Arendse, Andre Pollard, Faf de Klerk, Malcolm Marx, Bongi Mbonambi, Oxygen, Eben Etzebeth, Kwacha Smith, you name them. We fell in love with a lot of the guys, and a lot of the new guys as well are pretty dope. Apelele Fasi, Sasha Feinberg, Mgomezulu, Grant Williams, Mani Libok as well, by the way, etc., etc. Brilliant players, amazing players, guys that I watched during their school days, including new players like Vincent Chituka and Asenati Ntlabaganye and Sanele Nohamba, who should be a Springbok, in my opinion. Hachiva Daimani, who should be a Springbok, in my opinion. Evan Ruas, Paul Boys Lighty, who should also be a Springbok starter. Anyways, we have too much talent in the country, unfortunately. I would go on and use the Springboks as an analogy of what I envision South Africa to look like. I'd go on various platforms and say, I wish our parliament was like the Springboks and they represented the best of what South Africa is, and we'd have a president like Rassie Erasmus who galvanizes what the Springbok parliament is and is meant to be. I think Abu Gates and McKenzie were trying to peddle the GNU as that. It's definitely not, because there's no cohesion, they don't get along, they're always fighting with each other. Imagine the Springboks where Pieter Steph du Toit is complaining about farm murders and Siya Kolisi is busy singing Kill the Boer, and Cheslin Colby's like, yeah, but no one cares about colours in the Cape Flats. That's what our parliament and the government of national unity is. So it's not united. It's not like the Springboks. And there's no trust. Rassie Erasmus would trust the Springboks to make certain key decisions. He'd play guys at times when everyone would be against them, from your Mani Libok to trying out guys like Sasha Feinberg and Ngomezulu, to having Cheslin Colby as a backup, scrum off, etc., etc. And many people would be like, hey, we're not really sure about these decisions. But Rassie trusted the boys trusted Rassie, and they delivered. Jacques Nienaber, Mzwandile Stick, and many of the team as well. Coach Human, I think, as well. Really brilliant team. I wanted our country to be like that. I had dreams of a Springbok economy where our business people, I mean, you look at some of our biggest companies, Capitec, ShopRite, Woolworths, DSTV, MultiChoice, your Bidvest, your construction companies, your whatever other retail stores, to say, where are the, how do we get Patrice Motsepe, Christo Visa, Herman Mashaba, Yanni Mouton, young entrepreneurs, the guys that Trip Batu, Theo Baloy, Lekao Sihoana, your Tsepo Jeans, your DJ Spoo with more fire. How do we get these guys to all come together and build this type of like Springbok economy where you've got like the big boys, your Nicky Oppenheimer, Johan Rupert, who are the seniors. They're like your Eben Etzebeth and your Pieter Steph du Toit. And then you've got your senior black business people, your Patrice Motsepe. Maybe we can add Cyril and Tokyo Sehwale, even though they didn't really build businesses like that. Sizwe Ngasana and the likes, to come in and then lead younger business people, black, white, colored, Indian, to say, this is the new wave. The guys that are running Yoko, the guys that are in tech, the guys that are building new businesses, to say we now have a Springbok economy that is galvanized. 2 weeks after officially deciding to support the Springboks would lose to Australia. Australia looks like it's coming back. They're playing really well, and unfortunately, the ref was woeful yesterday against Argentina. The Pumas of Argentina have become phenomenal over the last couple of years. They really one of the best teams in the world. It's going to be very interesting watching them play against the All Blacks and the Springboks. Shout out to Pablo Matera. I know Augustine Creevy, one of the legends of the Pumas, is very proud of the boys and how they're performing. But Australia's back. James O'Connor from 17 years old, playing professional rugby, super rugby, and then playing for the Wallabies. Anyways, they lost against Australia. Australia played well. Springboks didn't play very well. Manie Libbok didn't play well. Malcolm Marx didn't play well. Most of the guys were missing their tackles. It was bad. It was bad. But Australia deserved the win. And then there was a lot of abuse, as is normal in South African rugby. South African rugby fans are the most emotional fans. I know we have a lot of haters around the world. Whenever the Springboks do well, from your England to your Ireland to your... Everyone's always hating on the Springboks. Sports is emotional, I get it. But Springbok fans, man, whenever their team loses, become incredibly political. They literally go for the black players, the colored players, the abuse that Manie Libbok has faced, and people forget, and I always have to remind even black rugby supporters in South Africa, I have to remind people that Manie Libbok took the Springboks all the way to the semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup. Manie Libbok. Henry Pollard wasn't in that squad, he was injured. Himself and Lucanio Am got called in later when Malcolm Marx and Magazole Mapimpi got injured. Manie Libbok took the Springboks to the semi-finals. Manie Libbok was there when they beat France. It was in the game against England. The weather was wet. The Springboks were not playing well. And the person who changed the game was Oxenche, winning scrum penalties. And luckily they brought in Andre Pollard, who's got a very reliable boot, much more reliable than Manie Libbok. He came in and he did his thing, man. Mr. Reliable, the golden boy. Andre Pollard, Paul Chim's favorite kid. And they won the game by 1 point. By 1 point. But Manie Libbok took them there to take the abuse that he takes. Manie Libbok has been the best fly half in South Africa over the past 3-4 years. On merit. On merit. His kicking when he plays for the Stormers, his open play even when he plays for the Springboks is the best in the country. He's one of the best open play offensive fly halves in the world. All of us have seen that clip where he has the no-look cross kick there, I think, against Scotland. Sizzling, goosebumps. Manie Libbok was phenomenal as a junior park, playing with Gianni Lombard, Damien Willemse, Wandisile Smelane, Ambrose Papier, Cohen Bosch. It was a super sizzling junior box team. He's there on merit. He misses kicks. That's his fault. Can't blame Rassi. Can't blame the kicking coach. That's on Manie to introspect and to say, I must fix my kicking. And in some games, he kicks well. But in the games where he misses, man. So he gets attacked. One pass, knowing that he's a dazzler champagne rugby player, one pass gets intercepted, causes a try. He didn't play well. Again, Malcolm Marx unfortunately gets sheltered because his line-out throws have been bad from the get. And it's not necessarily his fault. Malcolm Marx was a flank. He was a loose forward in school. You can see even in the way he plays, the way he hits the rucks, the way he fetches and steals balls, his physicality in contact, like a Bismarck du Plessis. The guy is a phenomenal rugby player. He's very deserving to start in the Springboks. But his throwing in the lineouts, unfortunately, is just not the greatest. Your Mbongi Mbonambi is better in terms of lineout throws. But his throws were not great. And even now against the All Blacks, that also came into question. But no one really talks about him because Springbok rugby fans make everything racial. When Apelele Fasi misses a tackle, when Willie Leroux misses tackles, and Willie Leroux's never really been great at defense physically, he marshals the guys, of course, but my respect and love for Willie Leroux is mostly as an attack player. He's brilliant. But in terms of defense, Willie Leroux normally disappears when guys break. He manages the guys, of course, but hey, the tackles. And the first try of the All Blacks yesterday was just a reminder for me. And Willie Leroux is a legend. Paul Roos Gymnasium boy. He's got his 100 caps. He's served. He's won back-to-back World Cups. I do think it's time for him to say goodbye And it shouldn't take him saying thank you. Rasi should be like, Bayranki Veli, thank you for serving the country. We must give him a standing ovation. He's a centurion. And we're grateful. We've got Damian Willemse, we've got Apelele Fasi. We can even have Cheslin Colby coming in to play fullback if needs be. We've got the talent. I left the Springboks as a supporter because I made a video sharing my views, speaking about merit. I'm one of the weird black guys who now, in the last year especially, I'm convinced that we need to remove quotas in rugby. We've had 30 years from Chester Williams when they won the Rugby World Cup in 1995 with Francois Pienaar and Joel Stransky and Andre Hubert. I'm one of the guys who's like, we've had a good time to fix some of these things. I'm one of the beneficiaries of quotas in rugby. I believe in primary school, I may have been selected for the Northern Natal rugby team because I was black. Was I good? Yes. But there may have been a better player than me. I'm not sure. By the way, I'm really not sure. I may have been the best on merit, but my confidence level was not where I thought I'm really, really deserving. I didn't make KZN Craven Week under 13. Understandably so, I didn't deserve it. Two of my black rugby mates at school, Ugwazi Mkhize, no Werner de Klerk, they went on to make Craven Week. Someone who should have made it was Usboniso Villadas, bless him. They made it on merit, and Yanni Bosov as well. Yanni would go on to get a scholarship at Maritzburg College. He'd play Craven Week under 18 with Bradley Barrett. Bradley Barrett would go on to represent England internationally. Yanni would go on to play for the Lions professional rugby team. Merit. In high school, my rugby got much better. Under 16, I made KZN. I played with guys that would become Springboks like Waylon Murray. Yanni Boshoff was there as well. Brad Barrett was there. The first team coach at King Edward School now, Njabulo Zulu, would be there. Johanna Rasmus would be there. Jean-Paul Mfuta, Mfundo Makoba, Mapita Stole, Malusi Zuma, who was the best player in our years from Hilton College, was there. Arat de Pierre was there. It's good times. But at that point, I was like, I'm the best in my position. I was a fullback / scrum half. Best. That was me, and I acknowledge it. Same way a lot of us are beneficiaries of black economic empowerment. We were picked in certain jobs. Yes, we had the qualifications, but it was because they needed to tick a box. Black, female. 30 years later, we need to look at this thing and be like, do we still need it? And yes, we haven't really transformed our economy. And yes, we haven't really transformed corporate at a level that it should be. And yes, we haven't transformed rugby at a level that it should be. I look in retrospect now and I think it was really great for me to be exposed in terms of rugby and corporate, etc. But maybe I needed to not be a beneficiary of BEE and quotas. Maybe I needed to go and work in a black company because those were the only ones available. Maybe I needed to try and learn Afrikaans if I wanted to play in rugby at a certain level. Maybe I needed to try and get into an Afrikaans school. Maybe I needed to bulk up and get bigger and be able to tackle the moor into many of the white boys. You look at players like Siya Kolisi, Vincent Chituka, physically, Bongi Mbonambi, Oxenche, Beast Mtawarira, Tendai. These guys can take your biggest Afrikaner white boy and crush them in half. That's merit. A lot of investment was made into them. Siya would be given a bursary at Grey High School. Bongi Mbonambi would be given a bursary at St. Albans. He was at Voortrekker Bethlehem, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure where Oxenche finished school. A lot of similar players as well. I think Vincent Chituka was at Northcliffe High. You have to invest in them. But I mean, white boys get invested in as well. Your Peter Steph Tutoy, your Malcolm Marx, your Eben Etzebeth. These are machines. Jasper Wiese, Dwayne Vermeulen, Damien Dialende, Julius Di Manne, Di Bille. These are big boys. You've got boys coming in like Abu Cameron Hanekom, Abu Yasses, Jan Hendrik Wessels, one of my favorites, Donase Grey College in Bloem. Machines. But you would have known if we'd remove quotas that any black guy you see would have made it on merit. They would have been deserving. Maybe we could have spoken about the politics of racism, because I can tell you now, and I've made videos about it before, that most white coaches in this country to this day, in 2025, would not pick black and colored players if there weren't quotas in place, even if the black and colored players are the best. How do we prove this? Easily. Apelele Fals is the best 15 in South Africa. Some could argue Damian Willemse, but they weren't playing yesterday. Sanele Nohamba has been one of the most amazing players at the URC. Arguably the best South African player at the URC. Is he at the Springboks? No. On merit. Hajiva Daimani, for 2 seasons, was one of the best loose forwards in the country. Is in the Springbok squad? No. Joarno Augustus, one of the best number 8s in the country. After Dwayne Vermeulen, he was meant to take over. Joarno Augustus was also there in that amazing junior Springbok team. Yes, he gets injured, but he should be there. He's not. Pepsi, Teles, Elimpilo, Kumete. Guys that have been snubbed at the Blue Bulls under Jake White. Why are these guys not getting game time? Why are they not getting game time? So, you realize that there are coaches that don't pick black and colored players on merit when they're white. And sadly, then quotas become that. Same with BEE. If in certain corporates that benefit from government work are not given like a tick box, they will only select the people they know. And for many of them, it's not even racism, by the way. It's just, I'm in a panel interview. I'm a young black girl from Imadadieni Township in Newcastle. And I'm looking at the 10 candidates. And of the 10 candidates, there are a few black girls. They speak isiZulu. Some either come from Newcastle or they come from northern KZN. And when they speak to you, they're like, oh my gosh, I love Mini Dlamini. Oh my gosh, I think your dress is so amazing. And as a black woman interviewing, you're like, I really like those girls. I'd love to work with them. And when I listen to how they went through varsity and how they applied themselves and where they go to church, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. These are the girls I want in my team. Is she being racist when there's an Afrikaans boy, played first team rugby at Hoërskool Monument, who loves camping and braaiing over the weekends, who loves the Springboks? There's no cultural fit with that black girl. So when she has to pick, it's not racism. It's, I like those black girls. I identify with them. So when a guy from Office, when a guy from, which other school is there? Framesby, Daniel Pienaar. When a guy from Waterkloof, big, huge 2-meter guy who played first team and played for the Blue Bulls or Western Province or Free State. He's there and he's interviewing 10 candidates. A few black girls, they quiet, they polite, they have their ZCC badges on. There are a few black guys, their fathers were taxi drivers, they studied Lokshini, they're from Livenda. They English, they definitely can't speak Afrikaans. And then they have to interview white Afrikaans guys. It's not even racism. When they meet the black boy who played first team at Garsfontein, who happens to speak Afrikaans, who got a bursary because he was at Dale College or Queens, who speaks some Afrikaans, speaks English, played flank, played Craven Week for the Lions or something, and he likes, I love braaiing. Don't really like the Springboks. I'm sorry, sir. I like the All Blacks. You're like, yeah, man. I think I'll hire him. On merit, he's qualified, he can do the work. But in terms of cultural fit, so without the quotas and the BEE, a lot of people would be left out. I make a video and I criticize the Springboks. And in criticizing the Springboks, I get a barrage of abuse from Springbok supporters. Someone decides to write an article, they post it on Facebook, there's a barrage of insults. This guy doesn't even know rugby, he never played rugby. White people calling me kafir, they don't even know me in the comments. Yeah, this guy played 6th at school. You don't even know me, you don't know where I went to school. Why don't you stick to soccer? Yeah, if we let you guys run the country, it's you EFF. It's not nice, man. It's triggering. It's triggering. And it made me realize that the Springbok brand, as beautiful as it looks, has got a fan base that is really abusive and very racist. Some could argue that Donald Trump is not racist, President of the United States. Some could argue. I used to be one of the people that's like, I don't remember hearing Donald Trump saying anything racist. He might be, but I don't remember him saying it. Same with maybe like a John Steenhuisen or a Helen Ziller. But what is true is that all the white racists in America support Donald Trump. He may not be racist, but racist people support him. The Springboks may not be a racist brand, but you best believe racists support the Springboks. And when they are upset with Kanan Moody's performance, when they are upset with Bongi Mbonambi's performance, when they're upset with Siya Kolisi, when Rassie Erasmus made Siya Kolisi captain, many of them burnt their Springbok jersey. Rassie Erasmus got on the record to speak about how even people close to him were abusing his family, saying, your father's lost his mind. Why would he do this? It's difficult to shake off the legacies of our history. It's difficult to shake off the racism. You know, yesterday, if not the day before, the Kifness, who's a musician in South Africa, would post how there's a person who, there's some Employment Equities Act that is coming to South Africa, and this person couldn't qualify, or they couldn't hire 2 white employees because they were not black enough. And he was like, South Africa's the most racist country, whatever. I responded, you know, and I've had favorable engagements with the Kifness in the past. I responded and I said, you know, he's speaking from privilege. This is a person who went to Michael House, by the way. And I don't know his history. But as a white South African and as a boy who's a musician now, my assumption, which could be wrong, is that he probably paid his way through Michael House, which means his parents had some type of money and privilege. Same with Rob Hersoff, would also go to Michael House. I'd respond and I'd say, you know, if you could give back all your privileges and go start your life in a village or go start your life in a township and go to the low quality schools there and then try and work your way up into some level of success and then cry for merit, I'd be willing to listen. His response was, Rob Hersoff was right. And he tagged him, you are a black racist. And I found myself remembering that video I made where I was like, I'm really upset with white people in South Africa because they're not listening and they're not interested in nation building. A bulk of them, they're not interested. This was after I sat with Rob Hersoff with DJ Sbu and I realized, okay, these guys are not listening to our cries. I want merit, like they want merit. But when you listen to what merit sounds like to them, there's a huge racial underpinning and they completely disregard the foundational circumstances. Whereas when I want merit, I literally want merit to say, let's help the black and colored and Indian people to get to a level. Yes, it mustn't necessarily be done by white people. It must be done by a black government and black leadership, definitely. But it's like, no, the government must give me the contract on merit. Yes, but your merit was earned through the apartheid government, which didn't apply merit. They applied Afrikaner economic empowerment. I think Dan Quota would speak about this. So you guys built your wealth off excluding black people. That's not merit. So now that you're privileged, you're like merit. And I'm like, I believe in merit. But now your merit is, then give me. I'm like, but you didn't build your stuff off merit. Merit to me would say, take everything away from white people. And then let's start from scratch. Yes, they'll have the skills. Yes, they'll have the experience. So they'd probably build themselves up quicker. But Rob Hersoff is third generation money. If Rob and I, of which he's a 60-year-old Bali, if we were to compete on merit, he's got a whole family and a network of privilege. He went to Michael House, he went to UCT, he studied at Harvard at some point, he worked for Rupert Murdoch, he worked for Johan Rupert. I don't have a grandfather who built Anglophile. I don't, unfortunately. I don't have a father who built Anglophile Industries. Rob and I now maybe are competing on podcasting. Maybe we can compete on the rugby field. Say, let's see. Maybe we can compete academically. Who gets higher maths marks, whatever. We can compete in sprints. But we can't compete on that level because that's not merit. It's not. So it's upsetting. And I responded to the Kifn and I said, I'm happy to be a black racist if you acknowledge that you're a white racist. I don't support the ANC and I do believe it's corrupt and I do think it's been very destructive to this country. I don't support BEE. I think it should be scrapped and I can explain why. But when you disregard the history of this country and why we even have the laws in place, and then you go and you lie and you say we're the most racist country considering the high poverty and income inequality, and then you have the goal to call me a black racist. All I'm asking for is black and colored players on merit to make the Springboks. Not asking for undeserving black and colored players. But when I do that, focus on Bafana. Yala focus what? And you're like, oh my gosh. And you know, it becomes easy for people like me to then just go to the other side and become extreme and be like, no, I'll be EFF. I'll sing Kill the Boer. Fuck everyone. Because you guys are not listening. But luckily, I think I'm a better quality of human than some of these guys. I get bashed by black people. I get bashed by white people. I get called names on both sides. I mean, the fact that I want quotas and BEE to be scrapped gets me attacked by black people. The fact that I think Dubuli Boon, Kill the Boer, should be banned as a song gets me bashed by black people. The fact that I criticize the EFF and Julius Malema and Umkhonto weSizwe and the ANC gets me bashed by black people. But when I criticize the politics of AfriForum and I call out that white genocide is fake propaganda, and when I criticize Rassie Erasmus's selections, and when as a rugby supporter, as a lover of the Springboks, when I criticize certain selections and the way people play, and I call out people for bashing your Manili Box and the Siya Kolisis, I get attacked by white people. I'm like, okay. I could easily just be like, fuck all of you. But I'm going to stay true to myself and what I believe in to be right, even if you disagree with me. I went on a whole rant. Handré Pollard has got 2 World Cups. Handré Pollard is the best fly half in South Africa overall. The in-form fly half on attack is Mani Libok. He's just letting himself down on kicking. If Mani Libok could get his kicking rate at the level of Handré Pollard, it would be no contest. Mani Libok would be the best fly half overall. Sasha Feinberg Mgomezulu, who didn't play at the last World Cup, has got potential to become the best fly half in South Africa. He has the flair of Mani Libok, and he has a better kicking percentage and a better range than Mani Libok. He can kick 60, 65 meters. So he should be groomed. And when he came on yesterday, you could see the energy and the spark he came with. Asking Handré Pollard to be Mani Libok is unfair. Arguably, asking Mani Libok to be Handré Pollard is unfair. So a good coach and a good manager would find a way to appease everyone. How do we get Mani Libok on the field and Handré Pollard on the field? Is Sasha Feinberg and Ngomezulu a good fusion of the two? Then let's give him more game. If he's not a fusion, then clearly we need Mani on the field for kicking. I mean, not Mani, we need Handré on the field for kicking. And then we need Mani on the field for open play. Can Handré play 12? Maybe. Can he play somewhere else? He's proven himself. So we need him. Or is there something else we can do? Sanele Nohamba, explosive, very creative, and he kicks. Like Sasha Feinberg, he can also slot 50, arguably 60 meters. He's not in the Springboks, unfortunately. There's a boy coming up from the junior box, Ufosimoyo, Simpiwe, from Kes, who can kick 60, arguably 70 meters. We're going to see how his career goes. So Handré Pollard, people are attacking him and it's unfair. He can't do what Malilibok does. He never has. So to expect him to do that is really unfair. He had a decent game. He did what he does. There was just one almost vur pass that ended up going out, which wasn't great. But his kicking was okay. He missed a kick. We'll allow him. And many people who support Malilibok will attack Andre Pollard in a game where the Springboks almost drew. If they drawn the match, or if they'd won, no one would be saying anything. Everyone would be saying, this is why Andre Pollard should start, especially the white racist. Willie Leroux has to go. He's served and we appreciate him. Apelele Fasi, Damian Williamson need to get more game time. Jesse Kriel, very solid player. I never rated him when he first made the Springboks. I used to hate the fact that he didn't pass. Never used to pass. So when Lucanio Am came into the Springboks, breath of fresh air. And it wouldn't be surprising that he'd become the best center in the world when he was playing. Apparently, he's not really in form right now, but we've got Jesse Kriel and he's been solid. His game in the last 3 years has been phenomenal and he's a good leader. Jesse Kriel, we need Kanan Moody to play 13. We need Ethan Hooker to get game time at 13. And to maybe over the next 2-3 years begin phasing Jesse Kriel out. He's still of good age, but in terms of form, shout out to Ethan Hooker, by the way. Didn't really have a big game, but the fact that he was on the bench and he came on. Rassie Erasmus would go and spin why Jesse Kriel is captain. Something that I don't remember ever happening. Siya Kolisi, beginning of the week, sort of injured, not sure if he's really going to play. So Jesse Kriel takes on the captain duties during the week. Siya Kolisi gets cleared and he can play. Why not let him be captain? He's the captain of the Springboks. The fact that you told Jesse Kriel to be captain at the beginning of the week doesn't change the whole world. Jesse Kriel could still on the field, still make some of the calls from practice, but Siya Kolisi is the captain of the Springboks. When has it happened that when the captain is available and on the field, he's not the captain? Jesse Kriel could have been captain once Siya comes off. I mean, what spin doctoring is this? Yeah, we spoke to Siya. He said he was fine with it. Of course he's going to say that. If there's one thing I know about rugby, once you speak up and speak against the coach or against the team, you will get dropped. If you're not singing from the same hymn sheet as the coaching staff, you will get dropped. So these guys will agree with anything you say. Your coach Rassie said, I agree with the coach. You don't agree with the coach, but because you want to stay in the team and because you don't want to cause problems, you keep quiet. That's why a lot of sports players will release these books that speak about racism and the politics and the favoritism after they've stepped down, because now they have nothing to lose. But when you have everything to lose, you keep quiet. When Rassie Erasmus was asking Cheslin Colby at the World Cup if he can play scrum half, Cheslin didn't have a choice. He couldn't say no. So it's like, if I say no, it means I'm telling the coach I don't believe in you, in myself, the way you believe in me, and I can't do what you're asking me to do. That means maybe I'm not really reliable. In rugby, you do what your coach tells you to do so that they can keep picking you, so that they can back you, so that they can put you in spaces where they have influence. So ridiculous, so silly. Rassie would be like, Asenat in Klabaga, you can't go down to New Zealand because at all the press conferences, they'll be asking him about the substances that were found in his body. But he doesn't mind being questioned on like selections and being questioned on why Siya Kolisi is not the captain. Why is Siya Kolisi not the captain, bro? He's playing. Jesse can be vice captain. Like, how's the world gonna change if Siya is wearing the captain? Is there like an extra match fee that gets paid? Like, what is it? You can even have Jesse Kriel at all the press briefings and he can speak more than Siya. It's really not a big deal. But I'm like, yeah, the way Uras has been moving this year has been very shady. I mean, even at the last game where Apelele Fasi got called in last minute, there was one black African player in the whole team. At a time when we've got black African players that are the best on merit and should be there, they're not being selected. And they are subpar white players, phenomenal players, brilliant players, sensational at the Springboks, but they are not the best players. I mean, Willie Leroux is amazing, but he's not in form. Like, Faf de Klerk is phenomenal, 2 World Cups. But who's the in-form scrum off? It's Grant Williams. We shouldn't be debating this. Who's a better thrower between Malcolm Marx and Bongi Mbonambi? Bongi Mbonambi. Who's more physical at the rucks? Malcolm Marx. This shouldn't be a debate, but we make it a debate because of the politics and the racial politics in this country. Maybe I'll stop here. I just wanted to raise those things, and that we must keep speaking about these things so that those of us who care can have a national side, including Bafana, by the way, that is selected on merit, where the politics, not just racial, but favoritism, certain coaches that only select from certain unions, or only select from certain provinces, or only select players where they get the most funding. It's politics, not just racial. Even in Bafana, I can tell you now there's politics in how some of the black boys are selected from certain clubs, from certain what, because the coach knows, because the coach used to coach, no, because there's favoritism, there's probably like some money that is given backdoor. It's politics. The racial one just really looks bad. Shout out to New Zealand, the All Blacks. A huge congratulations to Ardie Savea. Ardie Savea got his 100th test for the All Blacks. He becomes the 15th centurion in New Zealand, a true ambassador of the game, a representative of what rugby means to so many of us. He loves the game, he loves the team, he bleeds and dies on the field. Shout out to his brother Julian Savea, who was a huge icon for New Zealand at some point. New Zealand really missed out on making Ardie Savea captain. To me, Ardie Savea is a similar story to Siya Kolisi for New Zealand. And although he has Samoan heritage and not so much Maori, I really think they really missed out. What he did for Moana Pacifica this year reminded us that he's arguably the best rugby player in the world. Even at the World Cup, when everyone was speaking about Dupont, it was like, there's Ardie Savea. Ardie Savea is something special. He bleeds on the field, man. He's arguably the best All Blacks player of all time. For me, and I know this is going to be controversial, I rate him above Richie McCaw. And I think for many people, Richie McCaw is the best All Blacks rugby player ever, and arguably the best rugby player of all time. But I rate Ardie Savea above him. Congrats to Ardie Savea. Congrats to him and his family for their achievements. I found myself having conversations afterwards because this is one of the things people don't speak about, especially the All Black supporters and especially the Coloureds, the ones who have been trolling me with, yeah, you supported the Springboks. Look now, you must come back to the All Blacks. British colonialism went and did a number on New Zealand and Australia, and they almost wiped out all the Aborigines in Australia, and they murdered a lot of Maoris in New Zealand. When you look at the New Zealand rugby team today, a lot of white players. Legacies of colonialism, similar to the Springboks having a lot of white players. But then I asked, how many Maoris are in the All Blacks? How many native New Zealanders are in the All Blacks? And who are the top Maoris that have actually played for New Zealand? You'll see non-white players in New Zealand, but then you'll find out they're from the Polynesian Islands. They're from Fiji. They're from Tonga. They're from Samoa. Jonah Lomu, Samoan. Tana Umaga, Samoan. Ardie Savea, Samoan. Joe Rokotoko, Fijian. Sitiveni Sivivatu, Fijian. Sevuris, Fijian. Richie Mounga, Tongan. Charlie Piutau, I think Charles Piutau, I think might be Tongan as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's Tongan. How many Maoris? To find out that I think Aaron Smith might be one of the few Maori players for the All Blacks. He's not in the team anymore. He's a legend. One of the best scrum halves of all time. Aaron Smith. Then when you look at some of the other Maoris that play for the New Zealand Maori team, a lot of them are mixed race. They're like a Sasha Feinberg and Gomezu. Damian McKenzie falls under Maori, but you can see he's white. You can see he's white. A lot of the others also white. But they fall under Maori because they've got Maori heritage. For a lot of people, myself included, who have or who are supporting the New Zealand All Blacks, when you scream about quotas, when you scream about transformation, a question needs to be asked around New Zealand rugby. Eddie Jones would crack a joke about New Zealand rugby saying, if they were to lose their factory of the Polynesian Islands, you could actually see how good or bad they actually are. And they would struggle. In South Africa, our talent, which of course is largely white, a lot of our talent is homegrown. You'll get your Vincent Chituka, you'll get your Beast Mtawarira, but our players are from here. Yes, you'll get your Corne Krieger, you'll get your Bobby Skinstad. These were guys that were not born here. But by and large, our players from here. In New Zealand, some of their best players are imports from the Polynesian Islands. A similar thing will happen in Australia as well. What is New Zealand rugby doing for Maori players? Are their development structures good enough? Are Maori players being kept out of New Zealand rugby? What is the political stance there? How does it feel for a Maori player in New Zealand to watch Fijians, Tongans, Samoans get selected for the national side? There are black South Africans who have spoken about the concept of selecting a Vincent Chituka from the DRC, a Beast Mtawarira from Zimbabwe, to play for South Africa when they are black boys, black South African boys that should be playing. Now we're picking players from Zimbabwe, from the Congo. Next, we'll be picking players from Ghana, from Nigeria. But they are black South African boys. How would that make you feel? And my question is, how do Maoris feel when some of their Polynesian brothers get selected over Maori boys there? Is enough being done there as well? Is there a conversation to be had? New Zealand rugby is planning to, if I'm not mistaken, apologize for apartheid South Africa and the atrocities of rugby and what's happened to black and colored people in South Africa. I don't know if South African rugby has done the same. I don't know. If they have, please school me. But if they haven't, they really need to. They need to apologize in the most African way possible. The South African Rugby Union should sit down with the leaders of colored rugby, sit down with the leaders of black rugby, specifically Emakoseni, and to ask, how do we apologize and cleanse? And you hear South African rugby, Mark Alexander, Rassie Erasmus and the rest saying, Emakoseni, we've spoken to the leadership and they've asked for a penalty of 100 cows. We will be sending 100 cows to black South Africa, specifically the Eastern Cape, and they will be slaughtering and we'll be having a cleansing ceremony for excluding them in the past. We will be speaking to the coloreds, the Muslims and the Christians, to say, how do we apologize to colored South Africans for excluding them from rugby back in the day? And you have a ceremony and you pay whatever penalty, you donate whatever money, you broadcast it. And you're like, do you remember when there was those ceremonies with black South African rugby and colored South African rugby where the South African Rugby Union took ownership and they apologized and there was this whole ceremony and they celebrated it and it was broadcast and it was a conversation, like a national dialogue, like a CODESA, to be like, we are apologetic and we will do better and we will listen to you and we'll see how we can do things. And in that time, we celebrate all the black and colored rugby players. From Chester Williams in 95, but from your Errol Tobias to Silas Nkanunu to even Abo Alistair Coetzee and other legends of the game that couldn't make the Springboks, to say we salute you, we see you, we recognize you. We recognize you. And you're like, this is beautiful. Don't just whitewash things. Siyakolisi, let's forget. No, let's do things properly. I think that would be a beautiful gesture. And New Zealand rugby also, I don't know if it's done it before, but we appreciate that the haka has become better over the years. It used to back in the day, but it's more representative of the Maori people. But if they haven't done it, I really hope they also need to consider speaking to the Maori people about the atrocities, committing to do better, and having their own cleansing ceremony as well. These could be some of the beautiful, historical, cultural, social things that rugby could do and be an example for so many other spaces as well. New Zealand played well yesterday. They could have lost the game. Last time the Springboks beat them in Eden Park was in 1937. I saw the stats of New Zealand at Eden Park. They've only had 2 draws since 1994. This is regardless of any team they've played at Eden Park. They have not lost at Eden Park since before 1994. That's a ridiculous, ridiculous stat. Shout out to New Zealand. They didn't really play that well. Possession, territory, the Springboks had it. Just shout out to New Zealand for absorbing pressure. Shout out to Adi Savia for that steal. The Springboks were using momentum and they literally could have either drawn the game or it could have been a smash and grab and they could have won it right at the end. So kudos to New Zealand for their grit. Just a reminder of how powerful that team is. Shout out to the Barrett family, Scott Barrett, the captain. Shout out to Bowden Barrett, a legend. Shout out to Geordie Barrett, also a legend in the All Blacks as well. Yeah, good game. I'm looking forward to us having these chats, man. Rugby is something very, very special, sensitive to me. Rugby is a huge networking platform for me. Rugby is where I grew my masculinity. Rugby is where I built grit. I became a man. I learned a lot. And I really need to thank the Afrikaner community. What I learned from the Afrikaner community as a rugby player are lessons that I will never take for granted. How to be a man, how to be a gentleman, how to fight for your family, how to stand with your team, how to fight and bleed for your team. As much as I dealt with a lot of racism from white Afrikaners, I had a lot of amazing white Afrikaner teammates across the board, a lot of great white Afrikaans coaches across the board. I learned about the history of our country through rugby. I became a man. And I've met so many cool people. And even when I moved to the Eastern Cape, man, the number of brothers I've made, Emaxhoseni, who are still brothers today, brilliant. People that come from like dope schools, that come from Eslalini, that just come together with this passion for rugby. The coloreds that I've met, the colored community, especially when I moved to the University of Johannesburg, and I met some of the guys who were playing for UJ, guys that were playing for Tux, guys that were playing pro rugby, Aubrey McDonald, Waterkloof, Winterberg, guys like Earl Lewis, who played for Boland, guys like Cameron Peverett, the first non-white, arguably black-colored head boy of Paul Roos Gymnasium, Wendell Ware, Thurlow Peterson, so many gents there who have become brothers. A brother, Dusty Noble, who coaches the first team in Westville now. Guys like JP Peterson, and the dynamics that colored people deal with. The racism that they deal with within their communities, their racism that they inflict on black people, the racism they get from white people, the racism they get from black people because they speak Afrikaans, and some black people see colors as if they think they're better than. And rugby has been an emotional journey for me. It's allowed me to meet people. It's allowed me to get to build relationships with some of the best schools in the country. It's allowed me to meet young boys and to mentor them and to develop them and to try and get them into good schools, bursaries, and aligning them with coaches. And it's such a beautiful space. If I could, I'd get every South African boy to play rugby. There's something really special about the sport of rugby. In the absence of military training, in the absence of war, rugby becomes one of the closest things to getting boys to build their testosterone, to physically bash each other, and then after the game to hug each other and to be like, brother, I know you're bleeding. I know you've got stitches. I know, like, I was trying to murder you on the field, but you're my brother, and I love you, and I appreciate you. The camaraderie, the brotherhood in rugby, man, it's something special. It's something absolutely special with all the difficulty and the politics. Rugby's got a really special place in my heart. I've got a blessed Sunday, and I will normally post my rugby stuff on TikTok. So if you want to hear some of my rugby thoughts, rather follow me on TikTok. I've got over 350,000 followers there. But yeah, I just thought I'd make this video for rugby fans and anyone who really wanted to listen. To those who wanted to hear about other stuff, I'm sorry. We'll make another video again soon. Have a great and blessed day. Cheers.